All right, welcome. This is the first official launch of the SSJ Podcast, a podcast where I take friends and guests and talk about random pop culture topics, including video games, music, art, shows, movies, anime, as well as hot takes. This podcast is very much ingrained with the idea that its inspiration comes from the community and its creation is for the community. Our main goal is to have an intellectual and educational discussion, but at the same time, aim to have a good time. With that being said, I'd like to introduce the starting cast that will premiere in today's episode. I'm Edic, aka SSJ Pika, the host of this podcast, and this is my co host Luis, aka Dorado Fett. So, would you like to tell us about yourself and what you do, Luis?
Yeah, so it's an honor to be here in this podcast, and it's nice to see how well this is starting.
Mhm.
My day's going well. How's yours?
Oh, yeah, my day is going pretty well too. Um, I had a pretty nice day with my son out today, and well, I'm here now, and can't wait to have a fruitful event with you, talking about different things on this podcast.
Gladly.
Yeah, so um, funny enough, um, I know that you do a lot of work in like art and creating media and things like that. I know you have your own Twitch channel as well.
Yes,
Yeah, I know that you like to have a lot of live streams, funny moments with other people that we actually know from the community as well. I've actually, well, you actually yesterday you showed me quite a bunch of those amazing highlights. Um, and I gotta say, really like your work.
yeah, they're quite fun to make
No,
with the
yeah,
others.
yeah, I bet. I really enjoy um the skits that you guys have, and just overall the funny craziness that you guys go through. Um, it gives a lot of it gives very home like energy, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so um I guess I would like to go into some of the goals that we have for this podcast, starting out um just to give everyone an idea of where we kind of want to take this and who's it for pretty much.
Yes,
Um so obviously, I wanted to start this podcast to kind of make it community based, to have people coming in, tuning in, um, see us having discussions, and overall just getting something um, out of it, each time, whether if it's from us, the cast, or if it's news, or even a new piece of information. That's kind of what we strive for. Um, so I guess at the start of each podcast, um, I kind of want to go around um, between every one of the members and kind of talk about like what games that we're um, going through, currently playing. Talk about our backlog. What experiences we've gone through. And this applies to like different things as well. It's not just games. It's shows, movies.
mhm,
Art. You know, art expressed in many different forms. Um, so yeah, just to give kind of an update on ourselves, where we're at for each week, for each episode, I should say,
mm,
and then as well as kind of the main discussion piece being you know um, current events, you know new information getting out there, releases. Um, I know each and every day there's something new going on, and that's something that in this podcast I would like to kind of bring to light for everyone. um just to be up to date, you know whether people like it or not. It's just always good to be aware in the now. Like For example, there's been a lot of games that came out, I believe last week or even this week. I think it was like three major releases.
Yeah,
Um
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was one of them.
yeah, Rebirth, and I believe Rise of the Ronin 2 from uh Team Ninja, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um and funny enough, the third contender is Princess Peach Showtime. So
Yeah.
um so a little something for everyone to know like what's going on. Um and from there, I would also like to kind of talk about the community aspect of the podcast, because I do want to make it so that way people are included, even though they're not a part of the podcast, a member discussing, talking with us. Even though I'm very open to that idea of many people coming on as guests or even as like a part of the cast, whether it's permanent, temporary. Um, so the one aspect I am going to be implementing is questions. I know we're doing this pre-recorded, but over time, hopefully we could go into that um, live format. Where we could get questions, comments, reactions in real time. But in the meantime, I do want it so that way we could have a set of questions on top of, what we talk about, the topics that we have for each podcast, for each week, um, from the community, and that will be via through, our YouTube, wherever we put this out, as well as the community Discord, which is the Saiyanmon server that we have. Um, I know right there we have some pretty good members there. We have some pretty good memes. But yeah, hopefully we could get that server kind of populated so that way people could interact with the podcast. That's kind of like how I'm implementing both at the same time.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and hopefully in other ways too. Um, if we are live, people could be, I guess if they want to donate as well, that could be like a super chat that we could prioritize. But like I said, pre-recorded stuff, very simple, very one at a time, moment by moment, question by question. Um, but yeah, from all of that, um, hopefully we could have some pretty memorable moments on the cast. I know it's just me and you, but hopefully later down the road, we have more people coming on, different personalities, different opinions, different reactions. So, hopefully we could get moments like those where we could um, show our true selves, get this podcast filled with personality, color, and overall just make it a place where people can know that they can have a good time, you know.
Mhm.
Um I definitely have a lot of people in mind who I do want to invite on here for very specific topics, and I just can't wait to have them on here. I Because I know how it'll be. I know how the reaction from the community will be. I know a lot of people have been telling me that they want to see certain people on here because they want to know their thoughts or their reactions, or they just want to see their personality in general. Um, but yeah, like I had mentioned earlier, I do want it to be community based, with questions, but I also want it to be community driven, where it's not only, you come here, you listen to the podcast, or ask a question. I also want it to be an avenue where people could come together, get to know each other, find interests, common interests within each other, make friends, or even kind of promote their own stuff, because I've been very um, transparent at the fact that my server on the Discord, or even my whole uh, presence on Twitch/YouTube is very much like community based. I want it to be so that way people could just come, have a good time, but also bring themselves up as well. That's what I hope to do for many of the people, not only on the cast, but from the community as well. I know that there's a lot of people who have very fun personalities who I just want to get them out there. I know you guys have such a good thing going on, and it's something that I kind of want to push out there, hopefully down the line. How is that going, by the way? Like you guys, because I know you guys are on fairly often. I see you guys. I see you. I see some of the people that we actually knew from college um get on. I know from the highlights you guys have a lot of fun, and I just
Mhm.
want to that I do want to bring to light. So I feel like it's such a shame that like not a lot of people know about that, about you guys, about the funny moments that you guys have.
Yeah,
I give it a solid 10 out of 10 for you guys, for sure.
of
Um
course.
and so I guess we could get into some of the topics that we have here. Um Kind of just to give an example before we actually start, get the ball rolling for next week, because I know I just kind of want to give a taste of how we're going to be addressing things, what we're going to be discussing about, how we're going to be discussing it. So I guess let's just start with the main thing, that how we're going to get our podcast started, which is our backlog. Kind of the things that we're doing for this week. Yeah, let me know what you're up to. What you're doing.
Yeah. Lately, for this week,
Mm-hmm.
just been like helping around with my family, and we have like plans to move out eventually, like in a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like for in my spare time, I just check in with others and see if what they've been up to, and most of them have been pretty busy lately,
Mm,
unfortunately. Because the
yeah.
last I've played with my friends was last month, I believe, on
Mm-hmm.
February, and we were just playing Lethal Company
Yeah.
with the Thunderstorm mods. It was quite fun,
No, yeah.
and yeah, that was the last I've heard from them because they've told me they are going to be extremely busy following weeks.
Yeah. I think we've all kind of felt that, where we just like want to strap down, play with friends, and we're just busy sometimes. Like I know for
Yeah.
me, like I've been extremely busy these past couple of weeks. I know I've been, you know, uh working, cuz I work at Amazon. And even though I have like a fairly good amount of time, having a son, takes up like a majority of that time. So that not only does work cut my time where I get to, live stream or play with friends or even hang out with friends, but just in general, like for time for myself. But it's good to hear that you're still here, active, and you're still
Mhm.
willing to do what you got to do. um I know you said that you were gonna move back hopefully pretty soon, and I'm hoping for that as well, because I know that if you move back, then we could pretty much get most of the people that we knew you know back together again, hang out IRL.
Yeah.
That would be honestly a really good time. Not gonna lie, I've been kind of looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I remember
Because the
the
last
last
time I
time.
hung out with them in person was back in January when they invited me to go with them to Japanese barbecue. I drove all the way there to meet up
Oh,
with them,
nice.
and it was quite fun. Even though it was pretty pricey, $82 per person
Oh,
for
wow.
all you can eat. Yeah, it was quite a lot of money for each person.
Yeah, that's nice. Was that like when you showed me the clip of Sergio, like just going ham?
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I remember that. That was Damn, that was good. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Um, no, yeah, it's always good to um get back together with friends again. Hopefully later on this year too. I'm thinking about heading back to school myself, heading back to ELAC, so that way I could continue. And honestly, the main reason why I want to is, it's gonna sound pretty corny, but it's honestly like you guys. Like the whole reason why I went to ELAC was to obviously continue my education, but the main reason why I stayed was definitely you guys. Like the tables over there in the cafeteria. Like it always made me want to like get there early and just want to hang
Yeah.
out for like a decent amount, or even after, for anything else. I remember that we had gone to Congo Saga, and we still met up with a couple of friends there, you know and it was just a good time overall.
Yeah.
So yeah, I await your return. you know um
Hmm.
Let me see, what else have you been up to?
Uh, on my own personal time, I've just been using Source Filmmaker a lot, learning a lot of new things over the past years of experience.
Hmm. Yeah, I've known that you've been on that for, since I've met you. And,
Yeah.
now that I see, your work now, it is honestly really, really premium stuff that you are putting out. Like seriously. Like I'm honestly impressed. Like if I were to try to do that, like I wouldn't have the patience or the the knowledge to even try to do something like that. So I like the dedication, you know. And you've gotten yourself to a pretty good spot too, to know what you're doing and do what you want to do. You have a vision and you just put it out there.
Yeah.
I know. I tried dabbling with Source Filmmaker for a little bit as well, but I honestly went in and I was like, okay, well, a little uneasy. It's not like
Yeah.
Photoshop, that's for sure.
Yeah. It's pretty complicated at first, but you'll get used to it after a while.
Yeah. There are other like options, but obviously, like, since Source Filmmaker is like um very open and it's free, um it's definitely one of the options I would consider. um but I guess that gets into, I got a question for you actually. So you know how like AI is the whole topic of like this year? Like
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about that as like
AI.
an artist?
I've oh, and for artists?
Well, just like for what you do, because I don't know if it's like been implemented to Source Filmmaker.
No, I don't think it has been implemented in Source yet. I know how much AI has been affecting gaming when it comes to competitive games like League of
Mm.
Legends and Rainbow Six Siege.
Oh,
I've
really?
been
Like,
hearing about these monitors
mm.
that are programmed with AI that allows players to indicate what other players are hiding, like kind of like a cheat, like a pay to win type of thing. So
Oh,
AI's been
really?
like, you know, yeah, it's been making the games unfair for other people lately.
Oh, okay. Man, that's the first that I hear of that, not gonna lie, because I know that there was
Yeah,
like what, like bots, but like to have like whole hardware dedicated to like AI and for
yeah,
competitive gaming.
yeah. I've been hearing a lot about it, and I've been looking it up too.
Mm, yeah, I wonder I wonder how people are gonna do that like in tournaments and such.
Yeah, and then
Um,
surprisingly, like the games, it will not detect you cheating either. That's the crazy part. It won't know.
damn. Because it's like hardware based, huh? It's not even like software, so can't even detect it.
Yeah, yeah. It's hardware based.
Jeez, man. Yeah, this whole AI stuff is like I'm optimistic about it, but at the same time, like I know the impact that it could have on like many different avenues, different places. Like I know art is like the main topic of discussion for AI, where it comes to like, it's generating AI generative videos,
Yeah,
things like that.
video scripts.
Yeah, scripts. Yeah, it gets pretty crazy. It's even affecting like schools. It's affecting how people like do their homework. Whether AI does their homework for them, corrects their stuff for them, but like on another level. It's not just like, oh, you misspell this word. It's like, you're writing Shakespeare with that.
Yeah,
But yeah, and I just wonder how it's gonna like evolve going forward, because I know for like the past year, it's been it's been rapidly advancing, and it's been getting, like I've
yeah.
mentioned.
It even it's been affecting voice acting as well. They've been using
Oh yeah.
voice clips from voice actors from
Hmm.
popular shows and animes.
Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of those. I've seen I've seen like Dragon Ball ones. I've seen like the presidents. You know,
Yeah,
I find those to be very amusing. By the way, I have a really good series that I found that implements that. You know, uh, it's a funny series. Where the presidents are like in some D&D session. It's quite hilarious. It's very realistic. It's not like half baked.
yeah,
I'll send it to you sometime.
sure.
Um, but yeah, I guess for video games, what have you been kind of doing, or what have you been playing as of late?
What have I been playing?
Yeah, it could just be like anything, like comfort, games, or just like something that like you're on.
Sometimes I play Animal Crossing, even though I know not many people play it
Oh,
anymore.
mm-hmm.
I still play it occasionally, just not very frequent.
Yeah. I know Animal Crossing when it first came out, that was like such a big thing during
That was
the
like 4 years ago to be exact.
oof. Yeah, you're right. Came out in March, or was it early
Yeah, it
April?
was March.
March? Yeah.
Yeah, March 20th.
Jeez, man, that's when the whole like world stopped 4 years
Yeah,
ago.
we were in the pandemic.
Yeah, those were crazy times. Um well, yeah, damn, you got to show me your island soon, cuz I know you use Animal Crossing in a lot of your source filmmaker skits, so I know that you you probably play a lot. And the sad thing is that I had an island when Animal Crossing first came out, but sadly, I lost access to my first Switch. So when I got another Switch, all of the progress I had made, all the things I had done, all the gifts that people gave me, recipes and all that, all the bells that I had, gone. Just like
Oh dang.
just starting new, and I was like, ugh, man. And I did start a new island. Um, and I'm just like, I wouldn't say I'm like past, the halfway point, but probably in between the beginning and like, um, probably halfway, because I do have a decent amount of stuff. And then I know I started the DLC as well. The what is it? The
The
Happy
Happy
Home
Home.
Designer? Yeah.
Yeah, Happy Home Paradise.
Oh yes, Paradise, yeah. Um And that was pretty fun too, just to like get a whole like amount of new content, bunch of new villagers, um, and just create homes. Like that's just like a nice brain teaser, just to like be just playing that mindlessly.
Yeah.
So we have Animal Crossing. Um, well, me, I haven't played Animal Crossing in like probably several months now. Um, I think I only got back on it when I was playing with a friend who who wanted to play the game, who wanted to experience the game because I'd recommended it to them, and and yeah, they liked it, and they just continued on off without me. Um,
Yeah.
So so Animal Crossing, and I know you say you play BO3 as well, right?
Yeah, I also play BO3 on Steam.
Yeah, that definitely we got to get on that sometime
Yeah,
because I know that there's a lot of
especially
modded
DK.
maps.
He's been wondering because he's been trying to look for more players to play along with.
Ooh,
'Cause-
yes.
Yeah, so like three of us playing, it'd be really fun.
Yeah, it would be. I've had a session before where it's a full lobby,
Yeah,
and that is honestly peak zombies right there, like modded maps. Um, I think the one that we were playing on was um it was the giant, but it was what's the Derice Declassified. There we go.
yeah,
Yeah, we were playing on that map, and that map was pretty swell. Derice is honestly one of my personal favorites from like BO. Well, actually, yeah, Black Ops One.
hmm
But yeah, man, we definitely got to hit him up. We gotta definitely have that. We got to do that. We got to see how high we could get, or what crazy maps. Like I know that they added the Among Us map, and then you told me that they just released a Lethal Company map.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, we got to definitely do that. I've I've mentioned that I don't I haven't played Lethal Company actually at all. So everything would be kind of new to me. So it would just be really fun to just like have you guys kind of like it's just string me along.
Yeah,
I know I was playing a map with one of my friends. We're playing on the Among Us map, and he had not seen it at all. Right? He has played Among Us, but he had not seen the BO3 map. And even though I had played the map before him, he knew where everything was. You know, just from that, just from him knowing about or I guess playing Among Us. So
yeah.
um, yeah. Let me see. Have you been interested in any of the newer games that have been released as of like I guess in
Mm.
the past year?
Uh, what were the new ones again?
Um, there was quite a bit. I mean, I know that we mentioned like FF7. Like I'm not sure if you're like a Final
Yeah.
Fantasy fan. I know that there was like Elden Ring. You know,
Oh
I
yeah,
still
Elden
consider
Ring.
that new. Yeah, just because it's like more recent because of the DLC and all that.
Oh yeah. I have the game as well, but I just haven't got to play it yet because I need a stronger PC to be able to run it.
Mm, man, yeah, I played like 4 hours of that game, and it's 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 like my first time like playing a Dark Souls kind of like game. So first going into it, it was a pretty decent time. Um, you know, I chose the mage class, and you know, it was just it was very different. It was very challenging as well. Like obviously from like a Dark Souls, but I've heard this one was like the most casual one, the most fun. So hopefully I could get back into it like around when the DLC comes out. But you know which one I actually, really quickly, you know which one I actually prefer more? Um, Lies of P. I've played a decent amount of Lies of P, and that one's actually pretty fun. I like the whole
Mm.
world. I like how it's very linear. Um, and I like some of the mechanics in that game as well as the enemy design. Like, holy crap, very different. You know, because personally, I prefer like fantasy world, you know, like medieval, so like very close to Dark Souls. But the enemy design and like the world in Lies of P is very captivating. It really got me to actually try out the demo. And then when the game came out on Game Pass, I actually got it. I actually have it on my Xbox, not on my PC, just because of the quick resume feature. So I could just, you know, go at it. I don't have to like waste time. I could just like pick up where I left off.
Yeah.
Um, I guess in terms of like the new games, I know the big one was you know I guess if we're talking about from like last year to this year, it would probably be Tears of the Kingdom, and I'm just wondering if like you ended up picking that up.
Tears of the Kingdom? No, I
Yes.
haven't. I haven't gotten that one yet.
Oh no.
No,
Oh, okay.
but I have played Super Mario Wonder, and it's a pretty fun platform game.
Ah, yes. Yeah, it is. You know, the very sad thing about that is that I played a decent amount of that game. But then I lost my cartridge for that.
Oh, oh, you lost it?
Yeah, I lost the cartridge for Mario Wonder. Cuz I had it in the case, but then I took it out of the case and then I went to go take it somewhere. And I put it in my backpack, and then from there I did not find it at all. I looked everywhere. I literally flipped my backpack inside out, could not find it. I literally was like flipping clothes inside out just to try to find it. Have not found it since. And it's a shame. It's a shame. That game
Yeah,
was really fun. But hopefully in the
yeah.
future, like if it's on sale, I'll probably pick it up again because it's definitely worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, if you want, I could let you borrow my Tears of the Kingdom copy because I have it physically. Um, and I played a decent amount of the game. Like, I haven't passed it. I've gotten through 3 out of the 4 dungeons, and I've just been mainly just grinding side quests. But I think I'm like pretty satisfied with that because I've seen the ending. Um, so I think, you know, if you want to, I could lend it to you.
Mm.
Yeah, it's up to you. Like whenever we see each other.
Yeah.
Um, Let me see what was after that. Um, in terms of game releases, let me see. Let me pull out a pretty fun one. Did you end up playing Exoprimal?
Exoprimal?
Yeah,
Which one's that one again?
it's
I don't recall.
it's the Capcom dinosaur multiplayer game. It had came
No,
out
I
during the
don't think
summer.
I've gotten that.
Oh, okay. No, it's fine. It's because that one's a very interesting one that I had tried out. Where on the surface it was really good. It sounded fun, but like execution wise, it was very. It was definitely a grind to get to the fun part, you know. And with that, like those kinds of games, like it just kills it for me. Like I know a game like Monster Hunter is like that, where like the beginning slow and then like over time, like you build your equipment. But like this just felt like you could not do anything like at all in the beginning. So that's where I just kind of hopped out. But I was just curious because that kind of sounded like a game that like you guys would try out. Um oh,
Mm.
so any of the fighting game Renaissance games that
Fighting
came
game?
out. Yeah, so for example like Street Fighter 6,
Oh
MK1
yeah. Yeah,
or even
DK's been playing that quite a lot. Street Fighter 6.
yeah, Street Fighter 6. I've been seeing him on it like pretty often and
Yeah.
it's a really fun game. It's very roadmap like, and it's very cheesy because
Oh,
of the new drive mechanics. But
yeah.
I think online it's a struggle, but with friends it's really fun for sure. Because I've had many matches with friends where it's just been like back and forth. Sometimes not even back and forth. I've just gotten completely bodied. But it's still a fun time, you know, because the new mechanic makes it fun. Um, the new characters make it really fun. Like for me, I use JP, so I know I'm in the beginning of the game I would get hate, but I heard that he got nerfed, so you know he's viable. I won't get hate for that. But then even like facing against the other characters and like learning their move sets and learning their patterns, behaviors, um, it's a real good time, you know. But I honestly like every fighting game that has come out after that. Like Street Fighter came out, and then MK1 came out, and that was all that I played. MK1 and MK1 is fun. Like it's a whole different kind of game, but it's just really fun, like with the cameo system. And honestly, that's my first Mortal Kombat that I had gotten into, aside from 9, which I had back on I think, I don't know if it was on there or not. I definitely played 9, but I think I played it on the Wii. I think it
Oh
was on the
no.
Wii. Yeah. It's very much as weird as it is, I played it on the Wii. Cuz I remember I would use Freddy Krueger, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, MK1 was just like a blast. Played that until like um Tekken 8 came out, and that's pretty much like all I play for that. I just played Tekken 8. But since the game, the whole money honeymoon phase is over, I've gotten back to Street Fighter 6. I've gotten back to MK1. So I was just like interested if you were experiencing like the same that me and other people have, like for these fighting game releases.
Mm.
Yeah, pretty interesting time. Definitely a good time for fighting game fans. I know that there's like a lot more fighting games coming out, and even some that came out in between. I know the one that I think that we're all looking forward towards is Rivals 2.
Yeah.
Um, that one's going to be a really good game. Definitely going to be playing and streaming that. Even like hosting a tournament, I think that would be pretty fun as well. Um, and then there's the infamous Project L, which is um what was it, like 2XKO, 2KXO? What was it? I It was a pretty terrible name. Like, I think, like, me and my friends still call it Project L, and that's a more fitting name than 2XKO. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the name.
Yeah, but man, um, well, I think you know this already, but I consider myself a fighting game fan. Um, so that whole experience of all these games coming out, like
Oh
one
yeah.
after another, yeah, it's been pretty
But
crazy.
are you also excited for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero by any
Oh
chance?
yes, all on board on that. Most definitely on board. Because I've never been a big fan of, like, for example, Dragon Ball's universe, um,
Yeah.
or even any of the mobile games. The only 3D arena Dragon Ball fighting game that I played, I know a lot of people would say like uh Budokai Tenkaichi or all of those. I played Dragon Ball Raging Blast 2. That one
Yeah.
was my first 3D Dragon Ball arena fighter, and I really liked it. That one was really nice. And I know it came with that extra bonus content of like that small movie that released alongside of it. Um
Yeah.
I believe it was the tale of like the truffles and Hachiyak or whatever that fucking villain was called. Um but Raging Blast 2, and then I tried Ultimate Tenkaichi because that was pretty much like what people had wanted, but I know it got a lot of like it wasn't that good. It wasn't received as well. Um
Mm.
it looked cool though, but this one, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, looks looks like it's going to be the ultimate 3D arena fighter for Dragon Ball games. Like, because I know that there's Dragon Ball Fighters, and that's 2D fighting game, very competitive, very popular. But Sparking Zero, I feel like is gonna be like probably in the discussion for like game of the year for the fighting game category.
Yeah.
Because it looks really nice. I mean, we've yet to still see more gameplay, but they've been releasing more and more clips, each and every week. I know I saw one with, what is it, Bula versus Hercule, and that to me was kind of like really interesting because they brought someone who can't even fight. I know that there's Videl, but someone who can't even fight, and they made that into a character with like a future Vegeta or GT Vegeta, right? Um, so I'm just wondering like how big the roster is gonna be and how crazy the story and the mechanics are. because I know that we saw the presentation and we got a big taste of like the mechanics. You get to transform, um, as the character that you're using, different move set, different attacks, different animations, and it all
Yeah.
looks really nice. It looks like a good time for sure. And I'm not sure if they confirmed this or not, but it looks like there's like a tag mechanic or an assist mechanic, because I think in the trailer they showed off um uh Jace and Birder. I think that's what their
Yeah.
names are. The part of a team
Yeah. Yeah. The Ginyu Force.
the Ginyu Force. Yeah, I was about to say Team Rocket. The Ginyu Force. They were both in the trailer and they were doing an attack at the same time. Like they were both on the screen doing super. And I'm not sure if that's just like an animation thing where like one of them pops out, but that has me curious if there is going to be like a tag or an assist mechanic. That would be really good. I'm a big fan of like assists, tags, not really like one on one, aside from like, probably like Tekken, Street Fighter, and like MK, but like any of the, I guess the games outside of that's like Arxis, Bandai, um, and like Marvel, like definitely tag mechanics are really, really what captivate me. So hopefully they'll let us know. And if they've confirmed it already, I haven't looked into it, but that would be awesome. Definitely looking forward towards Sparking Zero.
Yeah.
Um, how about yourself? What do you think of the game? Do you think you'll try it out and
Yeah.
play it
I'll
as
try
well?
it out when it comes out.
Yeah. Hopefully we could try to get everyone together. Hopefully the online
Oh,
system is good.
you know what else I'm looking forward to for that game if it comes out on Steam,
Mm.
like mods,
Oh
like they did
yes.
with Budokai Tenkaichi 3. There was a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
mods.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of those. I've seen all the memes too, like Marge or like Thomas. It's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, like when they fuse too, like it that's pretty funny. Yeah, hopefully they do implement that. Hopefully it's not DRM.
True.
Oh man. And then I guess speaking of Dragon Ball 2, I know that there's that new anime that's coming out as well, and then which I'll talk about another time, by the way, cuz Daima's a pretty interesting new series for Dragon Ball, and I can't tell whether to take it serious or not. Like I will watch it because obviously it's, Akira Toriyama's work.
Yeah.
Um and I definitely want to respect that.
Hmm.
Um but what I'm kind of looking more forward towards is kind of like either a new movie, which I know they just released Superhero, which that leads me to wanting more of Super, which I think they did confirm that they were going to continue Dragon Ball Super.
Yeah.
Um but yeah. Let me see what other games, I guess, that well, yeah, that we're looking forward to for this year, because I know one of the topics here was kind of like our thoughts for this year,
Hmm.
like upcoming games or just overall thoughts on like video games or anything else. Specifically video games though, because I know this year's going to be a pretty interesting year. We just got off of what was, considered like the greatest year in gaming, um, which pretty debatable. I've heard a lot online that is pretty debatable. A lot of people go back to like the early 2000s and they kind of try to compete with the games and all the just the overall like content that we got for last year. Um Definitely game of the year was very well, I mean, we knew about Baldur's Gate 3, but like aside from that, like if you were to remove that from the equation, definitely a tough decision like towards the end. We had like a Nintendo we had two Nintendo games actually, right? We had Mario Wonder up there as well.
Yeah. And Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah. Yeah, so we had two Nintendo AAA games up there. Then we had Spider-Man, which is from Sony.
Yeah. They
Then
didn't. Spider-Man didn't win a single award, sadly.
no, it did not, sadly. Yeah, like I'm pretty sure they could have like taken one of like 10 Baldur Gate wins and just giving it to like Sony, giving it to Spider-Man. But no, I guess that was very controversial. I know that for sure. Um but I guess from comparing it to last year and seeing like the roadmap for this year, like what do you think? Cuz I know there's a lot of games that are going to be released this year, but a lot of games that have been announced this year that are going to be coming out in next year in 2025. But I guess, you know, to to just constrain it for this year, like what are your thoughts, on like what we could look forward towards?
Mm, not
Cuz
sure.
yeah, cuz honestly this year kind of seems quiet, like outside of like the releases that we've been expecting, like Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Dragon's Dogma, and even from Nintendo it seems very quiet. I think this year's going to be kind of like very toned down, um
Yeah.
cuz compared to next year, like I mentioned, compared to next year where we're starting out the year, with me personally, Monster Hunter Wilds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And GTA 6
And Pokemon Legends.
and Pokemon Legends. Yeah. And then we don't even know what Nintendo's going to be doing for next year too. We don't even know what Sony's going to be doing for next year, or Xbox, or what third-party company has in store for next year, because this year seems pretty like there could be certain announcements this year. Like I know we have like Spark and Zero most likely coming out this year. Um but for just it's been quite, silent at the moment. Um, I guess like for this year, like we could expect hardware, because I know that there's been a lot of rumors of like the Switch 2 being announced later this year and being released next year, as well as the PS5 Pro, and then Xbox's new uh digital Xbox variant. So this year kind of seems like more of a hardware year, and then on top of like the main companies, we have third parties who are releasing like the PC handhelds. We have the emulation handhelds. Um, so it seems like this year we're just gonna be like getting a break pretty much from like last year, right? Um,
Yeah.
with smaller releases, and then probably just like sprinkled around this year like some bigger releases as well. Um, yeah, because I'm thinking like what is it that is pretty big this year that's like, okay, yeah, it's taking game of the year, or like, oh man, like this is a game that we definitely got to play, because it's just been kind of like lower end games. um I know for this year, I think it's Square Enix that still has to release their new RPG. I forgot what it was called, but it was definitely one that they've been um I think it's the Mana series, their new JRPG that's coming out this year. And aside from Final Fantasy 7, like that's all, you know, and the Final Fantasy 16 DLC, and that's pretty much it for Square Enix. There's no big release upcoming this year, which they've been working really hard with release after release. Final Fantasy 16 and then Rebirth, and then the Mana game, and then um I don't know, I was gonna say Dragon Quest, but that's not that's not Square Enix. Um, Capcom pretty silent too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're probably just gonna go on a trend of just making games live service, like Exoprimal, Street Fighter 6, just updates for those games. Do you think that there will be a Mega Man this year?
It's very iffy. I'm not sure.
They've been promoting Mega Man in quite a few
Yeah.
places, like Street Fighter 6 and then
Oh, the outfit.
Exoprimal. Yeah, the outfit, yeah. And they've been having a lot of anniversary stuff for Mega Man as well.
Yeah.
So honestly, I'm thinking like they're probably just gonna do another collection, probably like the Mega Man Legends collection, and like just throwing it out there. This is like um a scream to the heavens kind of like prediction, but like maybe a new Mega Man X game because they had Mega Man um what was it 10, right? Mega Man 10.
Yeah.
So probably a new Mega Man game, Mega Man X game. Because I know that a lot of people have been kind of asking for a new Mega Man game, like new Mega Man anything aside from like 10 and the collections have been doing pretty well. Like I know I have some of the collections as well, so and 10. So, aside from like whatever else Capcom is going to be doing this year, I just feel like there's a chance that maybe Mega Man could come back. And then obviously next year that's when they're going to have their um Monster Hunter, their big title, basically like World 2. And I've been hearing that it's been created so it's open world, so very similar to Dragon's Dogma.
Hmm.
Let me see if we're going around to, yeah, like I mean, I don't know what goes on with Xbox. They're just going to release more stuff on Game Pass. That's kind of their thing. Probably put, you know, COD games on Game Pass since they own Activision Blizzard. Probably a new well, definitely their new COD for this year, which by the way is going to be more toward, well, it's going to be created by Treyarch, right? Gulf Gulf War, like it's going to be part of the Black Ops series. So basically like what everyone wanted or wants to return.
Yeah.
I guess aside from like video games, and this includes that too, but I want to know your stance on mainstream, like
Mainstream.
mainstream video games, mainstream music, mainstream art, you know, anything that's basically new and popular.
Mm.
Like, are you someone who hops on the bandwagon and if there's something new, like for example, Helldivers, like it's very mainstream right now. It's
Yeah, I've been
popping off.
overhearing it. Like, cause two of my college friends have been playing it quite a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would see them on their Discord status that they're playing it right now as we speak.
as we speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to hop on the Helldivers 2 bandwagon too, especially given that it's only $40. Um and from what I've been hearing, there's people have been describing it as like a Deep Rock Galactic but with better graphics and obviously more things to it, killing bugs and just doing objectives. So I was like, "Oh, that's definitely my kind of game." Um but you see, there's that aspect of like the mainstream that I'm talking about. I was like, is it too popular? Like, should I get into it? Should I wait? So I feel a little
Mm-hmm.
reserved about that. And obviously, the time to go in on like a video game, especially, is like when it's at its peak. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like for example, like Animal Crossing was mainstream, and then now it's just like whoever those who like the Animal Crossing series or still play daily, they'll still play that, but most of the people who pretty much like bought it, like for example like myself, kind of like just hop on hop off like every once in a while just to like see if like the seasons have changed, different animals, different fish, different items in the shops. um but yeah, for something like Helldivers, where it's now mainstream, like are you a fan of like mainstream games? Like will you hop on and like play games that are like popping off, like popular? Like it's really hard to distinguish like what is like mainstream, because usually with any new released, any new released game, um, it's pretty much like that. Like right out of the gates, it gets talked about. A lot of people are on it, and then over time, it just kind of like goes away. I guess the best example of like something being mainstream, where it's been kept alive, and it's like popular still, is like something like similar to like live service games, like like Overwatch, for example. Like that I would consider that
Overwatch
like,
or Overwatch 2.
yeah, Overwatch 2. Exactly. It's the same fucking game. They just put a 2 in front of it. Um so, you know, cuz I know that's from what my group of friends have said, if you're like hopping on something like that's new or popular, right? That's kind of like it being mainstream. But then like if you're not that, then you're like, a hipster who's like against all that stuff. So I'm just wondering like kind of where you stand, like even on a spectrum. Doesn't have to be one or the other.
Mm.
Like for me, for example, like I like newer releases for like, for example, the reason that I said that like it's new, there's a lot of people on it, there's a lot of engagement, it gets talked about, and overall
Yeah,
there's like a community, because I know that like Monster Hunter World specifically became mainstream, because I used to play um the traditional Monster Hunters that came out on like the handhelds, that came out on like Nintendo consoles, because that's kind of where they were really, like on the PSP, or on Nintendo consoles like the Wii, the Wii U, and then the Switch as well, and the 3DS. So I've kind of kept myself like in the mindset of like traditional Monster Hunter is like where it's at. And then when Monster Hunter World came out, it looked really impressive. It looked like what we wanted, like a big budget Monster Hunter game, but at the same time, that brought in like a lot of casuals. That it made a lot of the mechanics were made to appeal to the casuals. So for me, like it wasn't that it was like new, but just like what how the game had changed, because it changed itself for that, and that's why it was so popular. That's why it was so mainstream. And I gotta say that's kind of like really like stubborn of myself, even though I didn't have like a platform to play it on. Even if I did, I probably wouldn't look into it that much. I'd probably still be like upset looking or playing the traditional Monster Hunters like on the Switch.
yeah,
um so it just depends, on like the game, because I will play like a new game that'll come out, like for example like um oh, well, I was about to say Elden Ring, but I have the same feeling about Elden Ring as I do with Monster Hunter World. um I'm thinking of a game, well, I guess like the fighting games, right? Like because they're not really like um that casual or that mainstream, even though they have been getting more mainstream, more casual like over the years. It's still, they're still good games, but I would still hop on it because it's something that I wanted to do. I know when Street Fighter 6 had came out, I specifically got an arcade stick for it so that way I could learn how to use or play an arcade stick for Street Fighter. And then MK1 came out, and that was my first Mortal Kombat. So then I started to learn how to play that. As popular as it got, it was still really fun. And then Tekken as well. I know the previous Tekken, that's where it became mainstream. And I didn't play much of it, but then with Tekken 8, I decided to hop on it, and it's fun, and that's all that it matters, that it's really fun despite that it's mainstream or not. So it just depends on like how it changes the game, because Street Fighter 6 is new, you know. Um I would say out of the big 3, it is the most casual, and then MK1 fun, you know, and then Tekken 8 the most fun.
yeah,
Um so for me, yeah, like I said, it just depends how the game changes itself to appeal to that mainstream, to the casual audience. Hmm. I do have one more question though, which is um I guess the direction that the video game industry is going towards. And there's many different topics about the video game industry, whether it's about crunch, whether it's about I guess the big AAA titles being too much, companies that are being shut down, you know, but I guess one of the more simpler uh topics out of the video game industry, like the issues with it, um would be an all digital future, which I
All
have heard about
digital.
online. Yes, all digital, where everything is starting to head towards digital. You
No more
know,
physical copies. No
no more
more.
physical copies. And licenses, and with that, licenses being taken away from people who own digital games.
Yeah.
Because that's a very sad thing to do. Because I know me personally, I am more digital than physical now, just because of the convenience and just because I do have, the benefits of having internet and just being able to download and having a PC and having the space and so when it comes to digital and some of the issues behind it, what what are your thoughts on it? Like, what you're most concerned about, if you are concerned?
Like nowadays, without physical copies, it'll just seem off without your, showing that you have a collection in your
Mm,
library physically, like every collector had.
mm.
Yeah.
Do you own physical copies of like Nintendo games? Like, do you buy only physical for Nintendo, or do you kind of get a
I do
combination of
both,
both?
but mainly as of right now, I do have physical copies for some games.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I would say 90% of my library is digital, and then the 10% of some games are physical. So, like, I have Tears of the Kingdom, I have Bayonetta 3. Um, I also I owned Minecraft, but then I lost it. And then I bought it digitally, and then like they updated it to the Bedrock edition, so I had to do that either way. I used to have Skyrim. That one I did sell it though, so that's like a whole different issue. And then obviously you know about my Mario Wonder copies, so
Yeah.
so I mainly go digital, because I have the capacity, I have the space, I have the means to get it. And then just for like the convenience factor of not having to like carry physical copies around for the possibility of it getting stolen or broken or lost. So,
Yeah.
but that's good, Like for my older retro collection, it's weird saying retro for like 360 and Wii, but like for my retro collection, I do own physical.
Hmm.
Because well, I mean, for the Wii, that there wasn't that many really like it wasn't really digital based, even
Hmm.
though they had the Wii Shop. So I got all my games physically. But for the 360, I know I owned a decent amount of digital games. Whether they were free or not, I did purchase some games. I still have a lot of physical Xbox 360 games that I'm still able to pop them in and play them. Sadly, not on the newer console. But like if I were to boot on my Xbox 360, I could still play them.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's just that the video game industry is kind of pushing us towards more digital, because that's kind of like where they get the most of their revenue, because they don't have to worry about physical and packaging and shipping and then like cutting deals with the stores and all that stuff, so they lose a large percentage of that. And that's why I think games are getting more expensive too. Like the whole $70 price tag was like a whole deal, but it was because of like physical holding them back.
Yeah.
And now, since we're going towards like a more digital future, that brings a lot of problems. Whether it does make them more money and it does, support the developers, um, there's problems behind that, because um, it's not. a game that they're selling you like it you would if you were to buy it physically, right? Because you could have the game in your hands, you could put in the disc whenever you want, and you could play it whether you are online or offline. Like more so nowadays, like you have to be online to check in, but like nowadays games are requiring like that day one patch. So like the disc is pretty much useless until you check in. And for digital, you just get it when you download it. And um for digital, it's a license that you are purchasing pretty much. You don't own the game, you own the license, and that license can be removed for at any time for whatever reason, right? Whether it's like some issues with like the in-game licensing or
Mm-hmm.
the game is shutting down like we see with a lot of these live service games. Um it's just something that like I think all digital is probably something that we won't see for like a decent amount of time, probably like in the next 10 years, but it's something that we should be worrying about now because of how they're approaching it now. How a game isn't something that you own. It's a license, and it's something that could be altered or tweaked, or it could be a lot of things wrong with that. And how hardware is kind of forming itself to be like that, because I know with PC, like obviously everything is digital. There's hardly any physical games out there for PC.
Yeah.
Everything's just like through storefronts, through Steam, through Epic Games, through Battle.net, whatever. But with consoles, it's like, okay, yeah, that's the only physical like avenue that we still have left. I don't think Nintendo's gonna go digital anytime soon because they're Nintendo. They do their own thing. But I feel like that's where the two other companies are pushing everything towards. Because I know that they have all digital consoles where you don't need disc. You just get the console. It's somewhat cheaper, even though you have to purchase storage,
Mm-hmm.
and you just have to deal with the fact that you have to have a stable internet connection and the potential of not even being able to play these games at all anymore. Um, because I still have like games like Destiny and Marvel versus Capcom 3, physically owned for my 360, and I could put those games in and I could play them. But for example, since they're shutting down the Xbox 360 store, that will no longer be possible for someone who doesn't own a physical copy of the game.
Yeah.
So I'm all for digital, but if they're gonna do it this way, then yeah, it's not gonna look good, and that's just one of like the many issues that the video game industry has right now, where I just feel like, do you think, okay, I guess where I'm leading this conversation towards, or at least this particular topic of the video game industry, do you think we're in for another crash,
Another crash?
another video game crash?
Hmm. Possibly.
I think so too, because like I mentioned, this is just like one of the many issues um that we're seeing from um from the video game industry. Like obviously there's like crunch, there's developers, quitting, losing their jobs. These games are getting too big. We see companies, kind of breaking down, selling their IPs. It's just all over the place. Like it is terrifying to think that a career like in the video game industry, like you could just lose your job like whenever. You can
Yeah.
never like you can never be secure in that avenue. Even for someone like myself who is interested in like going into the video game like industry, whether it's like being um directing a project, developing a game, anything of that sorts. You could be replaced by AI or you could lose your job because your company doesn't have enough money, and these execs and these shareholders just run away and keep their money. You know, it
Mm.
implodes. It feels like it's gonna implode. Like a lot of these companies that we know, like probably not like the bigger ones, but some of the more like, um, I wouldn't say obscure too, but like some of these third party ones, where we have like IPs just kind of like resting on their shoulders. Like it's pretty scary.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and hopefully in the coming weeks, further down in this podcast, we could actually discuss that um as we see more advances, because honestly it feels like every week, almost every day at this point, there's something new going on, new controversy, new thing that changed, new something. Um so yeah. I look forward to that. I look forward to having a discussion like that when we have more specific details and more specific topics about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let me see. I guess before we wrap up, is there anything that you'd like to add, about any of the stuff that we talked about today about the podcast?
I'm good for now.
Yeah. All right. Um, Alrighty then. I guess this is gonna be it. Do you want to let the people know where they could find you? Kind of shout out like where they could see you, where you're at.
You can find me on Twitch because I'm usually more active there when I have friends online to play with.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hopefully I get to see that soon as well. And then obviously people could find me on uh SSJ Pika on Twitch as well, and SSJ Pika on YouTube, where this podcast will be uploaded. Hopefully I could get it uploaded on different platforms as well, such as Spotify. Um, but yeah, I think that's gonna wrap up for today. Good intro to what's to come, and hopefully we could have more people and more discussions in the coming episodes. But yeah, I think that'll be all.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. That's it.